Are you serious? Are you serious, folks? I'm so glad you're with us today. A special presentation here on the Coming Apocalypse. We have with us Rex Bear, of course, from the Leak Project. And of course, everyone knows he is just amazing. He goes on location a lot of times finding out what's going on. And we've got a two-part interview here because we're going to be talking to Rex about the Archula Mesa and all where he's on location. And also we're going to be talking about the what I call the 13 monoliths of the Illuminati. So Rex, great to have you on the broadcast. Rex, you there? Rex. Rex. Hang on, everybody. We didn't lose Rex, did we? Rex Bear, what happened? Okay, I'm still connected to him, but we don't have any sound.
What's here? I'm here.
Okay, there you are. There you are. Okay, Rex, how you doing? I thought for a minute that somebody abducted you. Are you okay?
Dude, they already jumped in. Can you believe it? That was fast.
You beamed me up, Scotty, and you're back really quick. Okay, it's so great you're here with us today. And before we start talking about a potential underground base that they're in the Colorado side, right? You're right near the border of Colorado and New Mexico. Before we talk about that, let's talk a little bit again about the saga of the monoliths, the 13 Illuminati monoliths. 13 different locations is why I say that. You went there to Utah. Tell us a little bit about what you saw and where we're at now with this. What's been going on with the monoliths?
Okay, so the monolith that I was fortunate enough and blessed enough to see was in Utah. It was close to Moab in the Canyonlands area, just about an hour and some change away from a famous location called Newspaper Rock. And if you ever get a chance to go there, that's a whole other podcast. They've got a petroglyph there that shows a place that might be inner earth that isn't too far from there, from the natives and people with 6 fingers and all sorts of cool stuff. But back to the location that I saw, it was a monolith that's been there for at least 5 years. There's some Google satellite imagery from I think 2016 or maybe late 2015 showing that, I think it was 2016, showing the monolith. So it's been there for at least 5 years or 4 years.
Wow, I did not know that. So nobody knew it existed for like 5 years.
Except for whoever put it there.
Right, right.
Now, here's where it gets very interesting. This monolith was a piece of art, and I thought the person did a fascinating job with it, and I thought that it was kind of paying some pretty interesting homage to the film 2001 Space Odyssey and the scene where there's the monolith in the same very similar environment. It was almost identical. So whoever did that, it was inspired by the 2001 Space Odyssey. And so there's a person by the name of John McCracken.
What?
Well, here's where it gets fascinating. Is John McCracken, I saw some articles about could it have been this person that made the monolith? And I did some research, and there was an article where this person had a monolith that looked either identical or almost identical to what I saw. And this was from, this was from years ago. So just the name itself, McCracken, release the Kraken. And think about this.
I know.
There was a lot of people talking about the Kraken at that time. And I'm not saying somebody in particular came up with this idea, but I think there could have been, spiritual influence involved at these higher levels, getting this into the mainstream with the monolith. And because if you think about a monolith, what is a monolith?
Okay, it's something that's very unique and usually something very ancient.
Well, yes, and a monolith is also usually one piece.
Yes.
It's one
single piece. Right.
So this technically wasn't a monolith. So a monolith, when I think of monolith, I'm thinking of like the Borg. Let's assimilate all into the singularity. This is the singularity, the duality into the singularity. 2020, the year of duality. 2020, the year of perfect vision. 2020, the year of polarity. We're going into 2021, and just the 20 to the 21, you've got this, what I see is like a vision of something or someone or a multitude of factions bringing people into this hive mind and they feel that once we get into this hive mind, that we're going to be accepted into this council, into this galactic council, so that we can travel the stars with these beings. But they're forcing us into it, and that's interesting. With the Israeli Space Command, retired 87 years of age, but that's just a number with this guy. But he says, hey, we're working with extraterrestrials, we're working with them on Mars, they're working with us here on Earth, and they're trying to find the fabric of space and time just like we are, and they need our help, but they don't want to admit they're out there because they don't think people are ready. And all of this to me is it's a way to usher in this one world system, and it's a perfect timing as well, because the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction that just happened on the 21st, and it was closest that it's going to be for hundreds of years, and it's been for hundreds of years at 1 p.m. Mountain Time, which would have been 12 p.m. Pacific, which is another interesting synchronicity there. And then that makes me think of how we saw the full eclipse, the full solar eclipse together off the 33rd degree parallel in Idaho, and how it's all connected to this, just the signs in the skies and revelation and the numbers and what they've shown us. And now it's like this is all kind of coming together. I wouldn't be surprised if the New Jerusalem is something that could happen in our lifetimes now with as fast as this is taking place. But I think that there could also, think about it, Paul. If you remember, they said in this article, they don't want to disclose themselves yet because we're not quite ready. We need to understand how spaceships work better. We need to understand the concept better. And that made me think of, so they want us to get on the ships. They want people to get on ships. And I think they're working with them on Mars. Well, that's what they said. They said they're working with them on Mars. But if you look at some of the ancient stuff and some of the scriptures and the Watchers and the fallen angels and how they fell in love with earth women and they decided to forfeit their right with God and the heavens to stay on earth. So I think that could be, they could have been from Mars at one point. There's a place.
Yeah, there's so much. It's so much convergence of information that's happening, whether it be biblical prophecy or it be different types of disclosure. And then you have the signs in the heavens, all of this convergence, and then these mythical monoliths, these monoliths showing up in all these strange places, and Brock is showing all these unbelievable locations all over the place, from Vegas to everywhere, and it's incredible. But let me ask you, because when you talk about the guy who was in charge, the Israeli Space Agency, here's a guy who was the chief in charge. It's sort of like our NASA. He was in charge for 30 years. This isn't some quack, okay? This guy has been running the space agency for the Israelis for 30 years. And he then, at age 87, says, look, it's time to disclose this. There is a base on Mars. It's underground. The United States has the base along with aliens, and they're working together. And now you got Paul Heller, who is the former foreign minister of Canada. He's like 90-91. He's saying the same thing. Then you got Buzz Aldrin, the second man ever on the moon, at 88 or 89, and he's saying, guys, I saw it outside the window of the spaceship, and everybody knows it. So it's kind of this thing about Mars. Whenever the guy from Israel said this, that there's a base on Mars, you gotta take a stop and listen. This has got everybody's attention. Is this part of an invasion? I guess some people are concerned that there's an alien invasion, or there's going to be some kind of great deception. I think I'm with you that there's the part about the Illuminati, or the New World Order, or this beast kingdom, this one world government, that there's something taking place here, and with disclosure, and I think these monoliths may be a part of this.
Oh yeah, let's take this to the next level too. So Paul Hellyer, love that gentleman. He just sent me his latest book, and he signed it for me. I thought that was so cool, because I asked him if he'd autograph it for me. And he's one of the most, he's probably as high level as it gets as far as disclosure. as well as this Israeli gentleman. And I have a friend, an acquaintance that lives in Israel that we talk back and forth a lot, and he was telling me about this gentleman as well from the Space Command. He said, hey, look, this guy's as high level as it gets. He's been doing this for 30-something years. And if we go back to, I don't know if you knew this or not, but this is just a little Jeopardy quiz here for you. Cairo in Egypt is El Cairo, and the definition of El Cairo is Camp of Mars. And if you really think about the connections of Mars and what it looks like now compared to what it was possibly thousands of years ago before this major catastrophe that we can clearly see, and they would have had to have gone underground, I think that this is where you may disagree with me on this, but I think that they could be connected to the Elohim or some of the fallen angels. And if you look at the Nephilim, the elongated skulls, and the kingship descended from heaven that's talked about, what if they set up shop here thousands of years ago, and we have been kind of doing the work for them? And somebody brought up a great point today about space and how you have to have a license to film if you're outside, if you're in space. And I thought, no way.
What?
Like, yeah, you have to have yes. You have to have it. And I said, well, what do you mean by space? Because they said, well, outside of the atmosphere. And I said, well, if you take, there's people that will get amateur footage on their balloons that'll launch them up 120,000 feet that I've seen. And if you want to see the full Earth, you're going to have to launch it up millions of feet because it's over 6,000 miles across. So, even at 120,000 feet, you're not going to see the full, what the Earth fully looks like. You're just going to see a patch of it. But if you go outside of the ozone, according to the data that I was given today, outside of the atmosphere, the Earth's atmosphere, you have to have a license from the NOAA, and there has been countries previously that have gone outside of the ozone, India, and they launched something outside. Elon Musk launched something outside, and as soon as it got outside, it was shut down as far as the video footage. So that makes people speculate, the shape of the Earth, and I get that. It makes me speculate what they've got out there. I don't think the Earth's perfectly round by any means, but if you consider the possibilities of these watchers, of these fallen angels, now maybe we can put a visual on them and say, wait a second, they don't want us getting outside of this bubble because they're controlling us down here, and connected with the Space Force. We could have satellites that our military doesn't want people seeing. We could have stuff out there, space lasers, who knows what's out there, but they don't want us seeing what is in space, period.
Well, let me ask you a question, because you're over there now, right now, you're in Colorado, just across the border from New Mexico, and you're in the Archuleta Mesa. And you're saying, right, okay, there it is. Brock's got a picture of it right there. He's even got there's the little sign. So you're right there right now as we're talking to you. And
I'm 1,000 feet away from it, dude.
Okay, there you are. So I almost could see you in the picture that was taken by Google. Okay, so now let me ask you a question. They're suspecting an underground base there. I can see these antennas on the top there, Rex. Can you see those? You're right there.
Well, let's just say I've maybe or maybe not been up there. Maybe not.
Let's just say maybe you haven't been, but let's say you probably were, because you're the guy that finds the monoliths in Utah. So let me ask you a question. Why is they feel there could be an Israeli underground base there, or what's going on there?
Definitely not an Israeli underground base, but if you go back to the time that the natives were running the show up here, they talk about the small people. And I found this out from a local out here, the small people.
Yes, I've heard about that.
Before us. Okay, but here's what's interesting. In this same area, major cattle mutilations, and hundreds of cattle mutilations that go back 70 plus years, if not farther, documented. I mean, even the FBI got involved in some of these cattle mutilation cases. So, there's either an ancient base from an ancient civilization that's highly advanced, or some type of extraterrestrial base that was set underneath the mesa. But what's fascinating is you can follow the trail, and even the gentleman that ran the UFO channel, or not the UFO channel, but a TV show on the Discovery called the UFO Files or something. He even has a really cool magazine. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I interviewed him a while ago. He was able to trace this back to like Nazi stuff, where they had some type of, or it might still be there, but they did have, according to this information, a base that was discovered, and it was turned into this, they were doing genetic experiments on people. They were doing dream experiments on people. They were doing hybrid programs. They were stuff with cattle. They would get stuff from the cows and mix it with this gelatinous vat that they would make clones out of, and all this stuff that just sounds so over the top. But then when you do the research, and then you find out there's a gentleman by the name of Phil Schneider that, according to his testimony, was making a lot of these underground bases and tunneling systems. That one of them was underneath the mesa here, but they actually bumped into this base that was there, and they got into a shootout. They got into a shootout with aliens. Now this is where you're like, well, this is where I just want to say, oh man, well here's where you want to say bullcrap, right? You want to say, yeah dude, whatever. But here's what's interesting, man. This guy was, he started talking about it. He showed where his fingers, according to his testimony, got blown off by aliens and lasers. He got out of there. There's a bunch of special forces. They got taken out underneath the mesa, and you can look up the Dulce Wars. But what's interesting is when he started talking about it, he disappeared shortly after. But the way that, well, he didn't disappear. He committed suicide, according to the story. But if you look at the released photos, he was clearly he had bruises all over his body. It looked like he was strangled. It looked like he was beaten to death. And then they just kind of said, "Oh no, he committed suicide." And it was very
sort of
very
like all the
so.
sort of like all the scientists. Remember when like 125 of those natural. Scientists, alternative medicine, they just kept dying. Let's show some
From
folks.
Suicide, they said,
Yeah.
Oh, suicide.
Yeah, let's show some footage here, Brock. We've got, here's Rex, folks. We got with us from the Leak Project, Rex Bear, and he went and found the monolith that was in Utah, and we got some actual footage from there. Let's go check it out.
You're awesome. I love your van. You went to the monolith.
Yeah, I went to the monolith.
Just aluminum or some type, metal, maybe stainless steel. So you can see the rivets right there. You see that? So I really doubt that's alien technology. But also, when you walk around it here, it's three sides. So you got three sides to it. And once again, there's no EMF signal coming out of it. I've tested it with all the different detectors. But look at this. Let me show you something. Look at this. So if you see this view right here, you can tell that's the rock that people were talking about behind us there. And then it's got the canyon, the slot canyon right there. But here's where you can tell that they use tools to cut it in. See these straight lines? They probably used a concrete saw. Came out here, cut it in. And look at this. You can even see it's already starting to, this right here, it's not even sealed. See that? You could peel this open, and somebody made a smart comment. There's probably something inside of there, but I'm not going to open it up. But there's, just three sides.
Oh, he's so sweet.
It's a little bit less there. Yeah, right there. See that? Boom. They've got this for fingerprint analysis now, right? We know who's been here from all over the world. That's just so cool.
I mean, folks, there you are. There you saw it. Wow. Incredible information there. Just incredible. Rex goes on site. Now he's on site again. So do you see some connection here, Rex? Talk a little bit about the monoliths that were found. Again, 13 different locations: Romania, California, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, El Paso, Texas, Ukraine, Poland, Finland, the United Kingdom, and on and on and on. So tell us, Rex, what's going on? Why has there been 13 of them? Is there some significance to this being linked somehow to the Illuminati or a one world government?
Well, so what we should do is we should look at the 13 locations and then see what the ley lines are and then see if we can get a pattern, because there's actually been a bunch more. There's been a bunch of copycats, right? But the 13 that they're telling us about, that's what we want to pay attention to, because they're energy goes where consciousness flows, or vice versa. One of the two. Yeah. So think about it. What you're focusing on, that's having, your intention and what everybody's watching on TV. It's like that's the modern form of sorcery for these guys and gals and whatever is doing this. This is like, they used to do it at a micro level. Now they can get the whole world under their spell, and especially with different frequencies and stuff. But they get people to focus on these monoliths, and then what's the underlying significance? Are we all going into you think of monolith, that's singular, right? So
right.
We're going into a one world system. Now, here's where it gets interesting, the age of Aquarius. They're showing this around the age of Aquarius. This is a new transition, and Aleister Crowley claimed to be one of the new prophets of the new age of Aquarius. And according to a lot of data, the age of Aquarius actually started after the conjunction, or at the conjunction of the star, what people are calling the Star of Bethlehem, and Jupiter and Saturn got their closest point. Now, here's the question, though. Is that really the Star of Bethlehem, like was talked about in the ancient times, or is that just what people are saying, so everybody's on that bandwagon? I was just thinking about that. The media could be like, that's what it is, and people are like, yeah, that's what it is. I mean, it sounds right.
Yeah.
But is it? I don't know. We need to do more research on that. But if it is, right? So, and then the age of Aquarius, where it goes into an air sign. So we've been underneath a star, or not a star sign, a water sign with Pisces. If you look at the cosmic clock, and I think that if we are going into this transition of the air elements, with the monolith, with the timing, with the Space Force, with the name Guardians, with what I see and I've known for years, they want to bring people into this one world system so they can join this galactic Space Force and start traveling the stars with these people. It's like, well, I think they were given this blueprint that what they wanted to see us, what major population centers do hundreds of years ago. This could have been designed back when Jesus was here. It could have been designed before then, because a lot of these people that are running the show now, Pastor Paul, they're running the show, their family lines were running the show thousands of years ago.
Right.
So it's highly orchestrated.
And I've been studying a little bit on the 13 bloodlines of the Illuminati, and it is very highly orchestrated, and it goes way back. And here's something, folks. Rex Bear's with us from the Leak Project. The Leak Project, check out his website. I believe your website's what? www.leakproject.com. Easy to find, guys. www.leakproject.com. I saw you freshen up your website. It looks great.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the deal now, Rex. You talked about the Smithsonian's getting involved with where you're at right there with the little people. We know that the bones start disappearing. How many times has the Smithsonian Institute got involved in taking the bones of the giants? It's driven L.A. Marzulli insane. It's literally driven L.A. Marzulli insane that they keep taking the bones of the giants away. And you're saying they've also removed the bones of the little people that were right there in that area you're at.
Yeah, and you know what's so amazing? Let's talk about this for a minute. So they're called the small people or the little people, and even if you get into some declassified files from the FBI and the CIA that you can go to their website and get, one in particular talks about these craft that crashed. And these craft that crashed were circular, metallic, and they found these people that were about 3 feet tall. They had metallic clothing on, and they were height-weight proportionate. So they didn't have big heads. They didn't have big eyes. They were height-weight proportionate. They looked just like us, but they were about 3 feet tall. Now, if you go and look at a lot of these ancient megaliths, and if you really start to uncover history, which continues to unveil itself, then there's a possibility we've had a civilization of people live through certain cataclysms, and their family lines did, and their technology, so they were able to pass it on from generation to generation to generation. And then while some people were attempting to just survive, they were building some type of craft that they could travel. And you've heard about the inner earth theory. I think that they might even sometimes be coming from pockets of inside of the earth that are very similar to out here, but they can live longer because they don't have nearly as much cosmic radiation. But these small people that they found in these craft, there could be a whole species of these people. And they've got cliff dwellings out here in New Mexico and Colorado that are about 5 feet in height that were designed for very small people. I mean, if you're a short guy like myself, I mean, I'm 5'8", and I'm still ducking to get in there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So this stuff, it's fascinating. And you can go to Tennessee, and they found hundreds, thousands of these grave sites where they were built for people that were maximum 3 feet tall, and they were lined with this very nice granite that was from out of the area. So it was from like hundreds of miles away. They had to mine it and bring it in. And so there was very high level generals and people and farmers as well, and everybody in between saying, hey, look at what we're finding here. These are very small people. And then the Smithsonian gets involved, and dude, this is almost 200 years ago. And the Smithsonian's like, no, these are bones from chickens, and these are pet bones. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, you're right. And so the whole mindset changes. And then you got to ask yourself, okay, so you're telling us that the natives gathered this heavy, they mined this heavy granite from hundreds of miles away, brought it in, and then they laid delicately these chicken bones in here. And not only that, Paul, they had these little pots, I'm trying to remember what they're called, that would be found in many of these graves, that like little teapots almost, that they found with the skeletons.
Well, yeah, this shows you that it was, so they're little bitty teapots laying there with little people skeletons. And yes, the Smithsonian Institute completely removed all this evidence, and not just from what you're talking about right here with the little people thing, but all the giants that we know that's driven L.A. Marzulli and Steve Quayle and some of these guys absolutely insane, because the proof was there. The bones got gobbled up. They paid off the people everywhere they found them, in the mounds. So obviously they're trying to hide, first of all, from a biblical narrative about the giants that were born, of course, from the fallen angels. They want to hide that narrative. And it looks like they're also wanting to hide any other narrative of any other civilization that could have been, I've often wondered, who did Cain, when Cain left, was kicked out of the area there after he killed his brother Abel, it says he went and he knew his wife in the land of Nod. Well, who was those people in the land of Nod? What's going on there? There's some answers, there's some questions we don't really have answered. And if we find evidence, why is it being hidden from us?
Well, let's take this a step further. So one of the things that was discussed that they said back in the 1800s, people that were very rich and considered they had high-level education, and they're like, how could a race of very small people survive and not get eaten by, a mountain lion? So it was an ego trip for these dudes. It was a total ego trip. They're like, no, it's chickens. They're just chickens. But anyway, so let's go back to the World War II, and let's go back to the Nazi regime and what they were doing. There's some data that suggests they were working with these extraterrestrials or interdimensionals, and I think that there's a connection there with some of these bases and locations under Earth, and there could be small people that they've tried to just completely make disappear. But then you hear about the Greys, and are the Greys demons? Or what are the Greys? But the Greys are genetically engineered to be able to survive in space or in that type of environment.
So you think the Nazis, who were working very hard, not only to make a superior race, of Aryan race, what they would be a superior race, they were also working on twins. We know that Joseph Mengele was really into creating all these twins. From what I understand, he created 800,000 sets of twins through genetic altering. I think he probably even figured out the genetic splicing thing, for what we're not sure. Did he also, there's some rumor that he was working on a way to create a genetic race of smaller people. I wonder if somehow he was involved in a way that altered the DNA of folks. And we're only talking 75, 80 years ago, but is there a remnant of that still left, or were they using ancient fallen angel technology is what I'm trying to say. Ancient technology, as you say, the Nazis were probably tapped into that.
And Project Paperclip brought a lot of them in the U.S., very high-level positions, and they're in Argentina. And the power they have still in Argentina is unbelievable. So I wouldn't say unbelievable, but for many it would be.
Von Braun. Obviously, without him, we don't even get a rocket into space. And we got Einstein. You bring all of these guys from the paperclip thing, and all the scientists from the Nazi regime really brought in here. We gathered a lot of information, didn't we?
Yes, and you also got to remember with what we were talking about a minute ago about space and what we actually see. That is, talk about faith, right? A lot of people that are religious, somebody that's scientific will give you a hard time for your faith, for your belief, and they're like, well, we just look at the science. Well, first of all, if you're looking at most space-based science, most of it, I'm not saying all of it, but if you look at most of it, have you been there? Will you ever go there? Are the people that are giving you this knowledge, have they really been there? And the data that's being brought back, is it accurate? It's faith. You're like, well, I believe it is. You don't have, in my opinion, enough solid data to give the amount of information that they give us. I think it's just, who knows really what's out there, man. There could be stuff out there beyond our wildest dreams. You go back to the tether incident where they launched this 11-kilometer tether into space that was pulsating with electricity, and then all of a sudden these things start showing up that look like giant craft, and they're moving extremely fast, and they're moving intelligent. But then if you look at it more and you look at wait a second, that looks like plankton almost. And then is space plankton? Imagine space plankton, Paul. That's like there's stuff out there we can't even explain if there's space plankton out there. Well, is there stuff eating the space plankton? We don't know. We have to go on what they're telling us.
Well, folks, we're certainly in a time now of information being revealed. Some of it is misinformation on purpose. Some of it is deception. Some of it's delusion. And some of it's actual. And the people that I always listen to are the 90-year-old, 87-year-old, the 88-year-old guys who've been in the space program forever. Paul Heller, the guy from the Israelis, guy who ran the space agency for all these years, Buzz Aldrin. When those guys tell me something, I have to take a step back and listen. And because what do they got to lose? They don't care. They're just going to tell you. They've been carrying this thing on their chest all these years, and they're saying, "Look, I got to get this off my chest. I'm not going to my grave with this." People need to know that there's a whole lot more than what meets the eye. Rex, we're gonna let you go, Rex. It's a great interview. Be careful out there. Don't get abducted. Don't get taken underground. Stay alert. Stay awake. Stay out of radiation.
Oh man, I will be right on the edge of all that.
I know, that's what worries me. Thanks a lot, Rex. Appreciate you being with us live on location there, and keep investigating. We'd love to hear what you got to say.
Thanks, Paul. Have a great day.
All right.
Change.
All right.
Cheers.
Rex Bear, folks. Oops. Wait a minute. People are calling. Wait. What happened? Phones are ringing. Somebody's calling me from. I'm not sure where it's coming from.
Begley, speaking time, Pastor Paul.
I'm so sorry. I hit the wrong level here. I hit the wrong button. Okay. This is really crazy. Okay. The phone just kept ringing in two different ways. Okay. Kept calling our main ministry number, and it kept calling Rex. So I don't know. Something's going crazy. The frequencies are going nuts. Anyway, folks, wanted to just talk about this monolith a little bit. These 13, they're located in 13 locations. You heard Rex say they could be on certain ley lines. This is one thing Heidi has already brought up that we need to look at. I really think Brock has already said he really believes that these monoliths are being erected by the Illuminati. This is a sign, a code of the New World Order. And that it's like a code is being released. There's information. It's like it's time to go to a certain level or a new level. Rex is also on location here, so of course he's looking into these other possible underground bases by a military base, and of course he wants to talk about the new disclosure by the scientist out of Israel. So you got all these things happening at the same. Well, that's why I used the term convergence. 2020, look at the biblical signs, the locusts, look at the typhoons, the monsoons, look at the star that had just appeared. The conjunction hasn't been here since 1226. Nobody's seen it since 1226, and it was the star Bethlehem, or it was probably the star. The signs in the heavens, the prophecies are unveiling. So what's going to happen? Let me just say, while the prophecies are being revealed, the delusion, the strong delusion, is going to be revealed. As God's prophecies are being revealed, the Illuminati are revealing their plan to deceive the world and to try to defeat Jesus Christ in his return. But Satan has already lost. So give your life to Jesus Christ. We're running out of time. We'll keep an eye on all of these signs, for the Lord's coming back. God bless all of you. Thank you for being a part of this special broadcast. I'll see you next time. February 5th and 6th, 2021, a webinar you can't miss. It's going to talk about the virus, the vaccines, the victims, and the victory as we bring in scientists and biblical scholars to unearth the vulnerabilities of the population and verifiable evidence of what's taking place. You need to know what's going to happen. Don't miss it.